I'm Leandra Letterman,
And I'm Allison Christians.
and it's time to break into tax. This video is one in a series. It focuses on the hiring process at the U.S. Department of Justice Tax Division. We are very pleased to have here with us today Richard Zuckerman, the former head of the Department of Justice Tax Division. Mr. Zuckerman joined the Tax Division in December 2017 as the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General, where he was head of the Tax Division. And he began his legal career as a trial attorney with the Justice Department's Organized Crime and Racketeering section in the Detroit Strike Force. We're very pleased to have him here with us today on Break Into Tax. Something that's often of a lot of interest to law students is, well, how do I get a job there? So say someone is interested in either working in criminal tax or they particularly want to work for DOJ Tax, whether they're interested in civil or criminal. Do you have advice on that?
Well, there's two avenues into the department. One is for law students through the honors program, which exists as far back. I was hired through the honors program. It's been around a long time. It's very vibrant. And then there's the lateral hiring, which is also there. The tax division follows the department's processes for both. And there's a way to check on the Department of Justice website for when the hiring season starts. Right now, I think the lateral hiring is probably closed, and what the staff is doing is going through the 500 or 600 applications they get for what I think was 9 or 10 spots to be laterally hired between now and the end of this fiscal year. And then the honors hiring, well, that's concluded because we know who's coming in September, but that process will pick up again a little later in the fiscal year. But the best way to keep track, I think, is to look at what I think is called USA Jobs, and also to check the department website. In the old days, the department used to send lawyers out to interview on campus. I don't think they do that anymore. The tax division doesn't do that. The tax division may make contact with students if, for example, they're in a particular area for a particular case, and they'll go to a law school and see whether or not they can, meet with students who are interested. But the whole hiring process is very tightly controlled nationwide. You have to be very careful to follow the rules that are set down by an independent. I think it's the NALP who sets all this up. But the short answer to the question is there's basically a lateral hiring season. There could be two of them, and an honors hiring season. There's one of them. And the best way to see when the app's open would be to USA Jobs or the tax division website, and check with your law school. The department could get 8,000 applications, and maybe 1 or 2% hire rate, maybe.
Highly competitive. So we'll include in the description links to those websites so that interested students can check what the status is of the hiring processes.
And it's very thorough. I can tell you how we vet people. We get 300 to 400 applications.
And is that specifically in the criminal division?
That's the criminal side. The civil side gets an equal amount, but some of these people can apply for both. And I have a committee of lawyers, usually headed by what's called a counsel, which I can explain, who vet the applications to boil them down to 30 or 40, from which another committee then boils them down even further for purposes of interviews. And then after the interviews, there's another committee that meets to discuss how to rank in a soft sense, not actually a hard sense, but how to rank the people who have been interviewed so then offers can start to be made. And some of the people that apply to us are applying to antitrust, the criminal division. There's a way to smooth out, who's looking at all these people, but within the 300 or 400 applications that we get that have the word tax in them, we might be the second choice of someone who really wants to go to the antitrust division. But all of these are looked at the same way. We don't put to the side any application just because it looks like the person may want to go into a different division, either because they've indicated that in their narrative about themselves or because their academic career looks like they're more interested in antitrust and corporate work than they are in tax litigation. But it's a three-level review, at least three different committees within the tax division look at that. And when I mentioned the word counsel, I have a lawyer that serves a one-year tour with me out of the tax division, usually at the 5 or so year level. That is basically my aide de camp. And that person is generally in charge of hiring.
I'd like to know, how do people immediately get eliminated from your consideration? What is on the CV that you just immediately throw them off the pile?
We don't throw anybody off the pile right away, but I haven't sat in on those interviews. But, there are certain things that would put someone if you're looking for 30 people or 40 at the next cut, there are some things that collectively or individually are going to disqualify you, and then without any prioritization, grades, are you on law review? Are there typos in your application? How does your bio read? What are your interests? We may see an order of the COI, first in the class, editor-in-chief of the law review, whose 30-page bio talks about nothing but antitrust. So we'd love to get a person like that if they had an interest in tax. So that person would be put off to the side somewhat, but may also wind up just because, sometimes you see somebody that's terrific, you want to just see if they really might be interested in tax. But there's a collective things, and, these are committees of lawyers sitting around, and it's like hash. You sit around and you just try to come up with the best collection that you can of people that you think will make the best prosecutors. And you don't want to waste offers either. You don't want to get to the end and make offers to people they're not going to take your spot, because other people that may want to come to you, they haven't heard from you, they'll go to their second choice. So there's a whole dynamic that works here. Let me say this about how I got started. The resumes I see today, they're very elaborate. They're multi-page long resumes. The students they're all law review, order of the COI, first in their class, undergraduate, Phi Beta Kappa. They belong to this organization, that organization. They're very organized. They've had externships here and externships there, and 18 externships while they're going to law school. I always tell people my resume when I applied was half a page long, and it was twice as long as everybody else's. And that's how things have changed over the years. When I applied, which was a complete fluke, I actually applied to the Department of Justice as a practice interview because I didn't think I had a chance to be hired, because they were hiring that year 74 people out of 8,000 applicants. So I had a practice interview, and I just happened to be interviewed at the time. The interviews were conducted on campus. So they had lawyers from the Department of Justice all over the country. And just coincidentally, the lawyer that came to the law school was an assistant chief of the organized crime section. And so we had a nice chat. And I thought, okay, we had a nice chat. So what? And then about a month later, I got a call that they were making me an offer. And I said, how long do I have to accept it? And they said take your time, 2 or 3 weeks. And I said, okay, I'll take the job. It took me about 2 or 3 seconds. When I got to the Department of Justice, I expressed an interest in the organized crime section. They hired me into the organized crime section. And I spent 4 months in DC for training. And then I asked for and was assigned to Detroit, which shocked them because, as one of the lawyers told me, no one's ever volunteered for Detroit. And because my wife's a third-generation Michigander, and we both met at the University of Michigan, so we wanted to come back to Detroit.
You opened a door for yourself, and when you got that door open, you found something there that you really liked, and that's a great takeaway for students.
This is just part of the interview that we did with Richard Zuckerman. Stay with us and watch the next video in the playlist. Thank you for joining us as we break into tax.